Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 301 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on April 14th, 2026. How are all you wonderful folks doing today? Yeah, a lot of rain lately. That's no fun. But something that is fun is some brand new data and analysis. That's right. Today we have a pretty significant report to present to you. It's on the JK Armament PRO-KOR 556K silencer. Yeah, I think the performance results may surprise some of you. Heck, I think they may actually shock some of you. And I say that due to the history of the past 6 years of the industry. And we're going to get into that a little bit in the introductory talk for that report on today's episode. I'll just say this. If you've been watching the silencer industry and wondering if technology has actually advanced, I would say yes, it has. While you were watching, in fact, it has advanced incredibly far. It seems to be accelerating. Yeah, I think everyone's watching that right now. I know I am. I posted a teaser meme on social media this evening, just, that we're publishing a report tomorrow and all the good stuff. The one with former President George W. Bush sitting there in that classroom when the guy comes in, he comes to brief him about the planes hitting the towers, but he's, the president's reading books to children, so he's trying to keep his poker face on or whatever. In the meme it says, "Sir, another silencer is bringing advanced performance to the market." Yeah, a guy DM'd me and he said, "Well, at what point does advanced become the new standard?" And I paused and I told him, I love that question. I absolutely love that question. I'm going to bring it up on the podcast I'm about to record, and here I am. I think we should talk about that question and the answer to that question in the technical deep dive next week. But for now, I think we'll just do the intro to the silencer today, as is tradition, and we can get all in the technical nitty gritty next episode. Now, also today, as promised, listener questions are back. Yeah, we're going to try our best to wrap up Solicitation 7. We just conducted Solicitation 8 with you guys a few days ago on social media, and we got a ton of new questions. So we're going to start to tackle those next time on the segment. But today, I think we're going to try to completely close out Solicitation 7, which we hadn't picked up since last year, and then we'll finish that, put a bow on it, and call it done, and then we can move on to the new ones. How does that sound? Good? Good. Now let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, man, so glad to have you. We're going to talk about silencers. It's so fun. Just remember, there are timestamps in the episode description for you to skip wherever you would like, no matter where you're listening. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, YouTube, on the website itself at pewscience.com/podcast. Wherever you're listening, you can find and navigate where you are with the timestamps in the episode descriptions, okay? Now I'm going to tell you about the fine companies and folks that make this podcast possible every week. The first one is Legion Athletics. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, really anything is worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time if you want to be good at them. Legion Athletics can help you with that. They have whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout. Now, do they have everything you need? Maybe not, but they do have a lot of it. The creatine, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of stuff. For new mothers out there, they even have prenatal vitamins now, which they didn't have before. So they're expanding their offerings. LegionAthletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. Code PewScience gets you buy one, get one 50% off your entire shopping cart when you use that code. And if you use that code going forward, you'll get 20% cash back forever. So that's quite good for you and for the show. This podcast is also brought to you by the fine folks at Silencer Shop. They've done a lot for the industry. They've done a lot for silencers nationwide. You use their kiosk. You don't pay any transfer fees. You don't have any paperwork errors. You have you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. The podcast is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area or just passing through and you're on a business trip, you want to check out a range, check out silencers. Kyle and his gang are exceptionally good stewards of the art, stewards of the NFA art, select fire weapons, silencers, short barrel rifles, all kinds of stuff to be had at topgunrange.com. And their indoor shooting range is has the largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas, which is nuts. Capital Armory also sponsors this podcast. Besides being exceptionally knowledgeable in NFA items and the process, they're true silencer nerds, and they can ship silencers directly to your door, where if you live in one of the states, the 42 states where silencers are illegal. So that's a pretty big deal. Check out Capital Armory. Also, this podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. I'm Jay. I'm the technical director of the lab. And in the interest of public education, we keep doing this. We're on the 301st episode. It's awesome. We continue to do our best to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. You can visit pewscience.com, which is our website for the suppression rating. It's the simplest and most accurate hearing-safe rating for your suppressed small arms, based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. That's right. Home of the Silencer Sound Standard, 8 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the world. You can also support this podcast. You can support our lab, Pew Science. You can support all the public testing that we do for you folks by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. There's a donate feature too if you want to give a one-time thing. And you know what? You don't have to give any money. You can just casually listen, spread the word, like and subscribe on whatever platform. Give us a good review if you want, if we've earned it, and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. Normalize the use of suppressed small arms. We'd be forever in your debt. I think everyone would be. Okay, I got 2 topics for you today. First, we're gonna do the introduction to report 6222, the JK Armament PRO-KOR 556K on the 10.3-inch Mark 18. And then we're going to do listener questions. Okay, so let's move into the JK Armament thing at a time of 6 minutes and 54 seconds. Okay, one moment, please. Okay. Yeah, topic 1. Sound signature review 6222, the JK Armament PRO-KOR 556K on the 10.3-inch 556 Mark 18. The last Mark 18 data we published was back in December. So the question is, how does this new advanced entry from JK Armament fare with the rest of the playing field? How does it fare compared to the competition? You know, you may be asking yourself, and I know we were asking ourselves that. This is a report in which you will see the top 5 and bottom 5 performers on the Mark 18. Called out explicitly. I think that's cool. So this is, again, the introductory discussion to this report. This one's pretty interesting. I think a lot of people have heard of JK Armament. They entered the market in a time when solvent traps were very popular. Folks were buying solvent trap kits and filing a Form 1 with the ATF, and they were building their own silencers, all that good stuff. It was kind of a little bit of a shortcut to making your silencer. You could have someone get a lot of the parts for you, and maybe you just drill a couple holes. You serialize things, and you're on your way. It was a very interesting time in the industry, and as many of you know, some of the smaller companies that became larger companies also got their start during that time. Yeah, and they got their start in the Form 1 game, in the solvent trap game. Yeah, you know, Otter Creek Labs, Diligent Defense, Resilient Suppressors, Liberty Precision Machine. You know those were like solvent trap companies before, right? You know that, right? Like, not with the same names, but they were all in that community. And, you know, I mean, they were making solvent traps before they were making Form 4 silencers, is kind of what I wanted to tell you. If you're new and you didn't know, it's cool. The ATF started cracking down, and I guess to put it simply, and this is, I know this is nuanced, so this is a very crude way to say it, but to put it simply, solvent trap companies started going legit. And they started entering the real silencer industry, as it were. Or let me say that differently, the traditional silencer industry. And, coincidentally, around that time, Pew Science launched the standard publicly in 2020, right? So right as this stuff was really hitting its peak, the solvent trap stuff, like, I guess the frothing of the whole, it was just like a very tumultuous time. the rest is history. You can look back. Now, the roots of JK Armament do, in fact, have a lot of silencer design experience. Solvent trap stuff notwithstanding, like Jake, the J in JK Armament, he has a lot of silencer experience over the years. I'll spare you more history lessons in this talk, and I'll just say this: I think today you're going to see some of that experience shine a little bit. Okay, I think it's important to say that. The PRO-KOR 556K is a very interesting design. I had no idea what to expect when we were approached for this test program. I had no idea how this silencer was going to perform. A lot of you may remember the modular nature of JK Armament silencers in the past, with the solvent trap lineage and all that stuff. And there's super small models that they pack with grease, ablative for single shot use or whatever, very portable use, very small use silencers. This silencer is not that. This is actually completely different technologically and use case wise. So let me kind of give you some high points. I kind of catalog some high points I think they're important to know right away, and of course we'll do the technical deep dive next week. So this is a hard use 5.56 silencer. It can be used also on 6 ARC, the advanced rifle cartridge, the 6mm ARC, 6mm ARC, however you want to say that. You can use it on that. It's overboard for that. Okay. It is 3D printed in-house by JK Armament. The silencer actually consists of a machined first expansion section, or blast chamber, as a lot of you know it. That blast chamber is threaded into and welded to a 3D printed Haynes 282 baffle core. Yeah, JK Armament is printing Haynes. Yeah. The end of the core is threaded for a removable end cap. So that's a little bit different than some other 3D printed silencers you've been seeing. Not all 3D printed silencers, but some that you've been seeing. The silencer is named a K silencer, and it is hub compatible with and without a mount. It is in fact 5.4 inches long, and when we tested it with the hub coupler it comes with, and the muzzle device it comes with, it comes out to 6.2 inches long. So you could call this a full-size 5.56 silencer as tested. Even I know it has K in the name, but as tested, it's full size. Okay, all right. The internal of the core design is I found it to be extremely interesting. I know that I use that word a lot, and that word is subjective, but to me, I thought it was very interesting. We are classifying this design, and say we as in Pew Science and the research group here, we are classifying this as a hybrid design in the taxonomy, but it's actually a lot different than some other designs you may have seen before. And it is certainly different from a lot of the designs we've seen. Instead of a dedicated coaxial annulus, JK has designed nested baffle pairs, and those baffle pairs have spiral ribbing, and they have baffle throat porting. And we're going to go deep next week, I promise. I'm just trying to get through this in a reasonable amount of time. So what JK has done, they've created pressure staging using double baffles. Okay, that's like an easy kind of way to think about that. I know that doesn't make sense yet. It's basically baffle pairs with high surface area that provide expansion and contraction area progressively through the stack, again and again. It's deceptively simple, actually. It's an excellent concept, excellent execution. I think it's really smart to do it with 3D printing, which is what they did, to get really advanced results, which is what they did. So that's cool. You get really high flow rate with this, with a relatively controlled momentum dump. I say relatively controlled because is it as controlled as some of the CAT stuff or the Stealth Additive Works Tisha? No, not quite to that level of control, but it's doing pretty good. It's doing really good, actually. You'll see that. Our modeling using the real test data is showing that the silencer really projects the pressure field for the operator. It's really reducing risk laterally. You will see that in the hazard map in the report, and it will be in hazard map brief 8.1.19, I believe is the number. I think this is a cool benefit of the maps. Hold on. Let me make sure, dude, that that's actually right. Did I number that correctly? Let me check. Hold on. I don't want to confuse you if you're listening to this. Yep, 19. Sorry, I'm just like looking at the drafts that I wrote to publish tomorrow, and I want to make sure that it's all correct. Yes, so that hazard map that is in the report in 6222 will also be in the hazard map brief 8.1.19, the 19th hazard map brief in section 8 of the standard. I think the way this silencer projects blast forward, I think it's cool, and you really you would be able to see that in the data, like if you knew what you were looking at. But being able to illustrate it visually to people spatially, I think a picture says 1,000 words, and that's one of the reasons I'm so pleased that we created PSoft HD for you. It's public. I mean, all these silencer hazard map briefs are public. You don't have to be a member to see them. I mean, and I think they're really showing behavior in a way that I don't think people have really looked at. So that's cool. I'm a very visual person. So I know it helps me. I know it helps a lot of you. Another point, the raw performance of this thing on the Mark 18, it's placing in the top 5. No joke, dude. Yeah, JK Armament came to play in 2026. Yes. Objectively high performance. It's not opinion. It's objectively high performance. I mean, because we have quantitative comparison. Yeah. I think this is the 253rd data point in the rankings in the 222nd article. So we have context. Quantitative context. So, yeah. Now, there's something cool. Oh, yeah, this is cool. I wanted to talk about this and I wasn't going to wait for the technical talk just because I thought I just wanted to talk about it now. From an engineering standpoint, I wanted to share something here. I was speaking with JK Armament about stuff, and I asked them if I could share this because I do think it's interesting. I was speaking with them about durability of the silencer and different materials they're using, and we got to talking about like the general construction, right? And the design, the geometry. And what they told me was that they actually engineered the weak point of the silencer, which they have determined would be the failure point under unusual conditions, unusually extreme conditions, to be in the baffle core and not in the stainless steel blast chamber. And as you probably would realize, the stainless steel blast chamber is the serialized part. And the silencer is actually engineered to where they can actually warranty replace your core and upgrade it to, it's like you can see the threaded junction in the cut line. Like it's anyway. There's just been a lot of talk about different 3D printed silencers, how you repair them, how you can't, how you don't. I enjoy this discussion because when we talk about plasticity and rupture of pressure vessels, for whatever reason, if a silencer does fail, you can't always control how the conditions under which failure may occur, but you can sometimes you can kind of coax it to fail in certain ways if the limit state is reached. So I think doing things like this in the design to try to help control the nature of a failure can be a smart move for warranty and for safety. In a way, it really depends. We have a rule of thumb in blast resistant design that we would like to do our best to make two things happen in general. We would really, really love to have connections be very strong, and we would really, really love to have failures happen in a very ductile way. And I just like summed up like 100 years of research into like a sentence, but this is sort of along those lines. And as someone who deals with catastrophic failures daily, I thought I would highlight it here. I think the technical talk for this silencer and this report next episode is going to be really fun. I think we're going to dive into some material science. We're going to talk about Inconel versus Haynes. We'll talk about how this silencer works and how it is achieving the performance it's achieving, all that good stuff. I think that'll be fun. I think right now, the big elephant in the room here that I hope people are seeing is that things are getting very advanced industry-wide. And there are players that have experience designing silencers that are now moving into printing. And I think that's a big deal. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, JK is printing their own stuff too, which is, I know, also a little different than some other companies too. You know, another big thing is that the space is getting very competitive. The first section of this report that you're going to see in the morning when it goes live, I think it's going to be like 0700 Central as typical. Excuse me. I think the first section of the report is it may shock some of you that are new to the research. For those of you who have been following the research for several years, and you know some of you who've been following it since the beginning, I think you're going to see this, and you'll probably just be nodding your head. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Some of you other folks are going to stare wide-eyed and be like, "Oh my God, he's how can he be calling out these companies?" No, I'm not calling out anyone. This is research that's been on the website for 6 years. So I'm just presenting it in a way to distill it. And so if it makes you uncomfortable, well, that's not really my problem as much as it is good that you're actually paying attention to it. What I would say, what I did here is I to showcase the gravity of where we're sitting here in the research is I put two extreme ends of the Mark 18 data set. Because remember, we have a very big Mark 18 data set. So I took the top 5 performers overall and the bottom 5 performers overall using composite suppression rating to rank them. See, sometimes the one number rating can be helpful. There is a method to the madness. When you get into big number space, when you get to a lot of high fidelity data, when you start to look at trends, sometimes it's good to be able to rank things really lickety split like. I know you don't like it. I know. You will see the top 5 and bottom 5 silencers on the Mark 18 on the same plot in only one group. And you will see 2 major points that I wanted to make with that plot or that bar chart. The first point is that there are levels to the game. And 6 years ago, this chart would have probably made the silencer industry have a heart attack and throw up. They would have because they already did over other stuff we did. So, but now you're going to see it and know that, yes, it's real. Some things are very loud. Some things are way less loud. This is real. Okay. The second point I wanted to make, the competition is absolutely insane right now, guys. Like all 5 of the top 5 silencers on this chart use different technology, like radically different. So like each model is from a different company and possesses a different engineering solution to the same problem. It's incredible. It's incredible. They're all different. They're not copycats on this chart. Cool, right? I think it's cool. Should appreciate that. And you should know it too. And that's a really important thing. You should know it. It's not just enough to hear me say it. I want you to know that what I'm saying is true because I want you to read the names. I want you to read the model names and know that they are unique. Okay. So yeah, that's the intro for this. JK Armament PRO-KOR 556K, 3D printed where it's needed, machined stainless where it's not, hub compatible, uses their hub mount coupler with their War Eagle mount muscle device. Yeah, that's kind of a cool name. Right hand coarse Acme thread taper mount. Really secure. Ask me how I know. Can barely get the thing undone. High flow rate. Very strong suppression performance. Extremely durable. They came to play, guys. Go check it out in the morning. The data is very interesting. Also, very undeniable. When you see this data, you'll find it very undeniable. There's not a lot of nuance here. We will reconvene next episode for the deep dive. So big thanks to JK Armament for trusting us to perform this work. Longtime Pew Science corporate member, actually. If you went to pewscience.com/supporters, you would see that. They've contributed to the research effort for many years. Not just like in spirit, but like with money. And that helps the lab grow. And guess what? This is the first JK Armament program we've ever done. And they waited a while. Were they biding their time? No. They were designing silencers that worked well. And it looks like they got one. So I'm sure there'll be more. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is the first and only JK Armament silencer we've ever tested. So I think we kind of started with a cool one. All right. Now let's hit something we haven't hit since last year. I think it's time. Listener questions. Out of time, 26 minutes and 11 seconds. Okay, man, I'm excited now. I'm excited for so many reasons this episode. This is great, man. We got JK Armament in the standard. What? Now we got listener questions. They're back. Let me pull it up. Yeah, we last hit this segment in episode 266 last year. Can you believe that? We're on episode 301. So I'm going to try to wrap up Solicitation 7 so we can get ready to answer your questions from Solicitation 8. I know a lot of you have been chomping at the bit to get these other ones done. I mean, we've just been so busy. Part of the reasons I took a break with some of this publication was like I needed to take a mental break for myself. I needed a physical break, and I needed a family break, and I needed to slow it down on the podcast a little bit too, so we could do things like this instead of data. It's like, let's talk about silencers. Can we just talk casually? Okay, so I'm going to try to get through Solicitation 7. It's long overdue. If some of these questions seem old, it's because they are. But I bet you they're still relevant because physics hasn't changed in this short time. So, and that'll be great. If we have time, we'll get into Solicitation 8, but I don't think we're going to have time because I don't want to spend that time tonight because I'm tired. So now for those of you new to this thing, this listener question thing, there's a listener question metadata tag on the website at pewscience.com/podcast. And if you click that tag on, like, for example, on this episode that's live in the morning, if you go to pewscience.com/podcast, you go to the most recent episode and you click this listener question metadata tag, all the episodes with listener questions will come up. And then you can pick and choose which ones you want to listen to, which is cool. And because everything's timestamped, you can then easily find the listener questions topic, and you can learn answers to questions that you yourself might have but were too afraid to ask. And I don't think you should ever be afraid to ask a question. There are no dumb questions. Okay, so now we are going to open up our wondrous spreadsheet, and we're going to pick up where we left off. Last time on listener questions, we last answered question 574, sub-question 72 of the 7th solicitation. And the question was, what do you believe represents the asymptote for 556 suppression on the Pew Science scale? And I talked about train of thought left the station. I talked about, at what point are you measuring, like, asymptote of what? Is it like suppression rating for a shooter's ears, suppression rating at the muzzle? Is it when you're untuned? Are you tuned? And I kind of talked about it's really hard to get out of the low 30s on an untuned gun. And so an asymptote might appear there. Like, or for those of you that don't know what an asymptote is, it's a mathematical construct for a limit. So you're like approaching something but never quite getting there. So like on a Mark 18, your shooter's ear suppression rating might approach something like 30 and not go a lot further. M4, it's even harder to get, something like that. And, with free field muzzle suppression rating, back then when I talked about this question, I think I started, you'll probably see plateaus around the 40s or high 40s. And I think we're hitting that. So for reasonably sized silencers. So that's what we talked about last time. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next question now. Question 575, subquestion 73. Can you talk about a variable mass bolt for a Ruger Mark IV to inspire a product like when you fixed the cam lock? I saw this when I was transcribing it. I forgot about it. That's funny, dude. Yeah, I can talk about the variable mass bolt. And I'll talk about cam lock for a second. So, okay, and let's just get this out. Let's get this out on the table for everybody here publicly. Like, just to clarify something, just so there's no like weird he said, she said. All this was like back. It's really not a big deal. Back when Griffin Armament released the cam lock, which is it's a coarse interrupted thread pistol muzzle device adapter. It interfaces with their own pistons that they make that fit into third-party pistol silencers, and it's like a quote-unquote quick connect to a barrel when you put the adapter on your pistol. Anyway, whenever they came out with that, I bought a bunch of it because I thought, I was like, oh, cool. Like I'm a pistol silencer junkie. Let me buy a bunch of this stuff, and I want to use it because like how cool would it be to not worry about your silencer unscrewing, yada yada. So I bought a bunch, and I used it a lot. I actually used it really heavily for my personal guns, and what I found out as I used it was that the threads that they had used, and their interrupted threads, they were really weak. And the way they had designed this thing, when you could actually permanently deform the threads and not break them, but permanently deform them. You could induce plasticity in their design with only hand-applied torque to the silencer. And it made the system really not reliable, and it's really not a good idea. It just, I mean, it was a good idea, just really not a good execution of an idea. So I was feeling just, funny, and I went on social media and I took a screenshot of the cam lock system there, and I have a Samsung phone, so I took my stylus and I got the red pen out, I marked it up, and I closed the threads and I drew a taper on the thing, and I tagged Griffin and I tagged Q and some other people back whenever this was all the taper whole thing. And I said, hey, one of you guys change this to be like this, because it'll be stronger and it'll work better. I don't care who does it. Someone do it because I want to use it. And I thought it was just like, I thought I was just messing around. Like I was like half serious, half kidding. Like I was thinking no one's going to care about what I'm saying, right? But like a couple weeks or like maybe a month later, Griffin did it and they made Easy Lock. And I was like, dude, are you serious right now? This is awesome. And yeah, the plan worked. Easy Lock worked and works a lot better. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But to your point, sir, I say all this to say it's an example of something really good happening because someone saw an issue with something and talked about it, and there was a change. And I thought that was cool. I was like, oh wow, like they considered like a user feedback and did it. Whatever story there is there, that's what happened. I mean, we got the screenshots. It happened like that. So yeah, it ended up working pretty good or pretty well to do that. And I think now you have people making dedicated tapered pistol barrels. I haven't used those, but they look cool, and I'd love to try them out. But I'm all about factory threaded barrels, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. Now we'll see if now what I talk about will spur any innovation from any of you listening, because you might think of something cool. About Ruger Mark series bolts, the Ruger Mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, all the Ruger Mark pistols, famous actually rimfire pistols used by intelligence community for a long time, for reasons, suppressed. Now, the Ruger Mark series is a direct blowback pistol, as many rimfire pistols tend to be. So long before I started Pew Science, I would try to optimize my silencer hosts for the quietest signature. And as you all know by now, direct blowback hosts will expel ejection port blast from the breech Rimfire pistols are no different. Just because it's rimfire doesn't mean it doesn't have blast loads. It does. If you hold the bolt closed with your thumb on a Ruger Mark Series pistol, when you shoot it with a silencer, you will find that things are quieter. And just hold it real tight. You're not going to hurt yourself. Just hold it real tight. If you're not comfortable doing it, don't. This is not an endorsement. Do not hurt yourself. Don't do that with like a lot of guns. Okay, it's like the Ruger Mark Series pistol. You can get a good grip on it. Don't let your kid do it. Okay, I just realized like I'm gonna get someone hurt here. Why is it quieter when you hold the bolt closed with the thumb? Is it because the bolt isn't cycling? Is it the mechanical noise that you're avoiding? Well, that's part of it. It's technically one reason why. But the major reason is that there's no longer a blast load coming out of the breech of the pistol, is there? You've locked it. So I would do that, and I figured, the opening of this bolt is a function of ammunition and back pressure. It's a function of impulse. It's impulse controlled. It's what we call an impulse controlled system. It's not pressure controlled, it's impulse controlled. So what if I could change the opening rate? What if I could create a delayed blowback system for the Ruger Mark Series pistol? Well, what's the easiest way to delay blowback? I'm not talking about what's the best way. What's the easiest way to delay blowback? Make it roller locked like an MP5? No. That's clinically insane, actually. It's like really super hard to do that. It's insane. Why do you think everyone copies the way HK did it? Because it's insane, dude. No. I asked you, what's the easiest way? The easiest way is to add mass. I didn't say it was the best way. I said it's the easiest way. It's more crude, mechanically, but this is rimfire, so get on the train. So what I did, I bought a bunch of tungsten pinewood derby car weights and some 3M VHB tape. And I used, VHB tape's very strong. I used different mass on the rear of the bolt with safety glasses, okay, on my face. And I tuned the mass to different ammo and silencers, okay? And when I found them, and I had a whole test matrix. This was like way before I started Pew Science. I had a whole test matrix of basically, long story short, I found the mass that I wanted to delay the bolt from opening, but still function with the silencers and ammos I most often used. And then I found a guy on Silencer Talk back in the day. Shout out to them. This guy in Alabama. I don't even know if he's still around. He machined me per my specs that I gave him. He machined me a clamp-on mass made of steel that would clamp to the rear of the Ruger bolt. It like rotates on, has a little set screw on there. It keeps it in place once you rotate it. Yep. It's awesome. So my Ruger Mark Series pistol is probably quieter than yours because of that. You're welcome. Go forth and invent. You're like, oh my God, this guy's like actually crazy. Question 576, sub-question 74. If you can only eat beef or chicken as a protein for the rest of your life, what do you choose? This guy. That's actually an easy answer, sir, ma'am. I mean, it's an easy answer for me. I'm going to go with beef on that one. With beef, you have a lot more cuts and to choices. Chicken, no, don't get me wrong, chicken is fantastic. Actually, this evening, my wife made some fried rice. I put some deboned a rotisserie chicken, put it on there, and soy sauce. Excellent. But what's the problem with chicken compared to beef? Well, you only have white meat and dark meat with chicken. And with beef, oh boy. You got all kinds of different cuts, and all that. You're eating burgers. You're adding the ground meat to lasagna. You're eating steaks. You're making jerky. You're doing all kinds of stuff with the beef. You know what I mean? So I'm going beef on that one, man. Chicken's good. Beef is more versatile in that way. Now, I know you can cook a lot of different stuff with chicken, but everything tastes like chicken. Chicken tastes like everything. Why would you do that? Question 577, sub-question 75. What is the best K-can out right now? These questions, the best. What's the best K-can? Well, okay, sir, I'll answer this. I'm going to assume that you mean the quietest, or the one with the highest suppression performance. And you know what else I'm going to assume? I'm going to also assume you're talking about 556. And since you asked this last year, because this is an old question, and now we're in 2026, I'm going to tell you as of today that we're recording here, the quietest K silencer on 556 is the Tisha from Stealth Additive Works. And it's not close. It's not close if you're talking about K silencers. If you're actually going short, like in actual K-can territory, that's the Tisha. Isn't that 4.5 inches long with a mount or something like that? Yeah. You're not getting quieter than that silencer for the length with anything else. You're not. Look at our data. You're not. If there's something that's as quiet or quieter than the Tisha that is that short, I want someone to tell me. And don't tell me it's yada yada and you from whoever influencer. No, it's not. Because if it was, then we'd know. Come on, guys. Give me something real, and then we'll talk about it. But until then, no, man. I don't think so. I hope that helps. Question 578. You can go to pewscience.com/rankings anyway. Question 578, subquestion 76. Oh, yeah, so I'm sorry, pewscience.com/rankings, and if you're a member, you can see the visualization tool and have all the lengths and weights in there too. Subquestion 76, can an AR-15 buffer have too much mass? In other words, why not just optimize with that? Oh, what a great question. Oh man, I didn't plan this either. Great question. We just talked about mass. But hey, what did I say? I said it's the easiest way. I didn't say it's the best way. So to answer your question directly, yes, it can in fact have too much mass because here's the deal with that. So when you increase mass, you increase the amount of gas impulse you need to cycle the weapon reliably, yes? Okay. And you also increase what? Reciprocating mass, which then increases what? Recoil forces. So what you need to do is you need to find the mass that gives you enough inertial resistance to keep your system closed long enough in early time. So the rule of thumb on there is like at least an H2 buffer if you're using a silencer with an AR. And then you go and you tune your gas port. After that, with an adjustable gas block. Now, is that rule of thumb wrong? Does that rule of thumb need to be improved? Yeah, we can figure that out, but we haven't dedicated the time yet. And then this next question, it must be the same guy. Question 579, subquestion 77. You have a suppressed AR-15 with an adjustable gas block. What do you change sequentially to tune? Yeah, this is just asked a different way in some ways. I just told you. First, you tune the buffer. Then you tune the gas block. And I would say, as a corollary to this, use a normal spring. If you're using a carbine buffer tube, use a carbine buffer spring. Don't use a heavy spring. There's no reason to use a stronger than normal spring. Okay? If you increase your spring force, all you're doing is making your bolt come back into battery faster because it has to come back, dude. Use a normal carbine buffer spring. Spring force develops with displacement. Inertial force starts from rest. Mathematically, this is not like an opinion. This is like how physics work. The spring force is going to be equal to the displacement of the object times the spring constant, and the inertial force is going to be equal to the mass of the object times the acceleration that's being induced. It's literally the difference between the two forces. So if you are tuning your system, you're going to start with your inertial term, and then you're going to dial in the forcing function, the impulse to it. If you were to increase the spring force resistance, you're not going to get maximum resistance until well after unlock, and then you're going to then also return to battery more quickly and more forcefully, making everything more violent needlessly. Okay? I know you can use springs to retard motion, like, of course, but let's think through it. Let's not accelerate our rate of fire for coming back the other way for no reason, yeah? Let's not break bolt catches and stuff. Question 580, subquestion 78. Can hybrid designs have better performance with higher muzzle energy? 22 arc versus 556. Higher muzzle energy. That's a interesting way to say that, isn't it? I would answer your question like this, sir. I would have you think about it like this. It's hard to say, 22 arc versus 556. I think 22 arc has more case capacity than 556. And you're shooting the same diameter projectiles, right? So I'm inclined to say that 22 arc is going to be louder because I think all other things equal, you have more combustion. You have more blast load duration too. So it's going to be louder. All other things equal. If you have a hybrid design or not, you'd have... Now, I will say that the performance decrease may be less with the hybrid design. Maybe that's a way to phrase that. Question 581, subquestion 79. Any plans to test the impact of venting gas blocks on the shooter's ear versus surroundings? Venting gas blocks on the shooter's ear versus... Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. So we can do that. So the challenge with that type of experiment, and what this later gentleman is saying, they're saying, can you, like, if your gas block is venting, can you quantify the risk of that blast load plus, like, the muzzle blast and everything? Because, like, you know, war comps vent in a bad place, so that reduces safety. So can you talk about, of a gas block? Is it the same thing? So like I was saying, yeah, we can do that. The challenge to isolate variables there, like what's the control scenario in that experiment? Like, do you get a superlative arms block like tuned to the tuned in the vented configuration for the same function as you did for the restricted configuration on the same gun, same silencer? You see, like, I think that's probably what you would do, and then and it would only be valid for that block. So like for example, with conventional silencers, there's seldom a case I can remember where you could actually tune for the bleeding edge function with that actual gas block with the vented config. Like every time I used one of those superlative arms ones in the vented configuration, I could never get it with a conventional silencer. I could never bleed off enough impulse from the block to get it not to cycle. Now, as silencer flow rates have gotten way higher, maybe it would be good to revisit that experiment. I think that would be probably the best system to use, though, again, because it has a restricted function and a vented function in the same block, same geometry, and so it's very, like, controllable in its... I mean, there's other ways to do the test, but... You say any plans? Not immediately, no. But it's more of a curiosity at this point. Maybe when we do a tuning article, that could be one of the parameters. Question 582, subquestion 80. How long until you test a direct energy weapon? I don't know, man. How long before AI starts using those against us? Think about that, dude. Have you guys considered that AI could make its own AI and then hide the fact it was an AI and then be like, that'd be bad. Question 583, subquestion 81. Can we expect multiple host tests in the future, like the Knights Armament selection? Oh, you're referring to the Knights Armament study that we did, which was like 16 tests. Oh, that was amazing, dude. Yeah, you will. You have, since this question was asked. Actually, you guys got the AK test, so you've seen that. You'll see more. Question 584, subquestion 82. Who asks the dumbest questions, and why is it me? Nah, dude. None of these questions are dumb. You guys are awesome, and I mean that. And if there's something inappropriate, I won't list it here, but that seldom happens. You guys take this seriously, which is good. I think it's because we take it seriously, so you do too. It's good. We can have some fun. But no dumb questions. You guys are great. Question 585, subquestion 83. Could flow-through tech be optimized for subsonic use, or would that be a futile endeavor? That's a good question. It can. The Hux, it's a HuxWorks technology. They would have to change their technology from flow-through to hybrid. And I would bet they're probably doing that now. You have to optimize the internals for lower pressure, shorter duration flow, which means you have to make your design more expansion channel biased instead of just surface area progression biased. You can't rely on forcing propagation through channels with surface area. You have to do things a little differently with like expansion. It's a different type of design philosophy. So without designing a silencer for you, that's all I'll say. Question 586, sub-question 84. Gas systems on direct impingement ARs often leak at the carrier or carrier key and carrier interface, the gas block tube interface, as well as the bolt tail and bolt tail seal interface. Depending on the severity of the leaks combined, how much do you think these leaks could affect suppression rating as it affects bolt velocity? Okay. Let me summarize this person's question so I can answer it. Okay, this gentleman is asking, I was going to say lady or gentleman, let's be honest, this is a dude. This dude's asking, you're losing energy due to blast load leak on an AR. It's affecting, it's not meaningless because you're actually you're losing bolt velocity because of it, meaning that you're losing enough energy to like change the kinematics. So if that's meaningful for the kinematics, is it meaningful for human risk too? Are you now jetting blast atmosphere and hurting person? Great question. It's a very thoughtful question, actually. This is actually one of the most thoughtful questions I've heard you guys ask. Let's talk through it. So we can go step by step. So you're saying blast load can leak from where the carrier key attaches to the carrier. Okay, I buy that. If it's not made right or whatever. And then inside the carrier where probably where the gas rings are, yeah. So here's the thing to think about. Anytime you have blast load come into atmosphere faster than normal, the pressure's higher than normal. So you're going to increase risk to the operator, which is going to drop suppression rating. So, you think through an AR carrier, you already have vent holes in the normal ones, and you're going to get blast loads as the bolt unlocks for the chamber. You're going to get blast loads from those vents. You're going to get blast loads from the gas tube. So I think if you're super tight and you're still venting through those vents, which you're going to, I think you're still going to get blast loads. I think, and they're going to be high amplitude because pressure's building up, and that's initial vent. If you're loose and you're leaking elsewhere, I think it depends on the path it takes. I think if it's a super circuitous path, it could change the wave propagation as it exits. The more you expand prior to leak, the less severe the pulse will be. That's a rule of thumb for you. Mostly true. Mostly for this regime, I guess. I'm pretty sure. This is a good question. I'd love to test a tight and leaky carrier side by side of the same model. All other things equal, you know what I mean? Could potentially be a difference there. But also, you might unlock slower. So I wonder if that like catches you up on the risk curve. It depends on this. Yeah, but then you got to worry about, well, what about the muzzle blast coalescence and how that timing works out? That's a really good question, dude. I don't know. Let's all remember that one. Thank you for the question. That made me think a lot. Complicated answer to that one when you really think about it. Question 587, sub-question 85. Does suppressor wrap, example Liberties, negatively impact performance or lifespan of cans due to less cooling? Yeah, that's a good question. So, like a cover, like a heat cover, like a mirage cover, or a burn cover, it could affect your lifespan. The only situations where I feel this would probably happen in practicality would be very specialized. Let's talk about one, and then we can, as a thought experiment. So, let's say you have a titanium 556 silencer on an SBR, and you're running it all day long with heavy fire, right? Not taking breaks. Now, in that case, your silencer is going to get hot really fast. It's going to stay hot. It's going to not cool down very easily. It's probably going to get a lot of erosion or lose strength. Enough to get damaged even if you're covered and you're not letting it ever cool off. But that could even happen without even using a cover. With that, the cover is going to prevent cooling from happening as fast. Now, I mean, I would say it would accelerate wear potentially, but I think the systems to be concerned with are the ones that already had a concern to begin with. I don't think the silencer cover is going to be the make it or break it item here. I think that if you're going to have a problem, you're going to have it with or without the cover. If you're on that edge, you're probably not using the silencer as intended anyway, or as truly intended anyway. That's what I would say. Question 588, sub-question 86. Seems like you dislike traditional baffled suppressors. Huh. That's not really a question. It's more like an accusation. Sir, ma'am, no, I don't think that's true. I like high-performing technologies like anyone else. I like plenty of old silencers too. It really varies. I think, by the way, traditional baffle silencers can be extremely high performance. And if you tweak them in a smart way, heck, dude, you might do something amazing. You'd be surprised. Case in point, the JK Armament report you're going to see today. They took something traditional, they tweaked it a little bit, made a hybrid design with it. Be careful using the word traditional. You might not know what that means. Maybe you do, and maybe you just think that like we don't like Q silencers or something. But when you really think about it, like a Q silencer can perform really, really well. And a lot of people, just because they look simple doesn't mean they're not doing something that's well engineered. I think sometimes people talk about stuff in ways that dismiss some things that they miss. That's okay. But to your point, I'm a fan of technology advancing. As shown in this effort, we like to showcase things that are awesome, but we will showcase not awesome things too. Question 589, sub-question 87. AEM5 testing. That's a question. He's asking, are we going to test the ops clones from Allen Engineering or the continuation silencers from them? I think eventually we will. Now, to your credit, sir, you asked this before the OCM5 and OCM6 data were published. So, like, you couldn't have known. But so now you have that. So maybe that pacified you. So enjoy that. The answer is yeah, we will eventually test that. I want to know. And if we can't test an AEM5, we'll test an Ops 12 model or something. We'll get one. Okay. Now there's one that came in. Okay, this is the last question of the 7th solicitation, and this one came through via email. This gentleman said, for the 7th solicitation, as we know, different mounts can impact suppressor ratings. Do you have any data on the impact on direct mounting? Would be interesting to see the impact on designs that rely on annulus gas flow versus using a traditional flash hider muzzle brake that may help direct flow. So the question is, do we have any data on how direct thread versus other? Short answer, yes, we do have that. We do have a lot of data about that. In general, I can give you a rule of thumb that in general, direct thread mounting will be slightly louder in general. Not all the time, in general. And why it's not always the case is because of something you allude to, sir, different designs. Now, let me give you an example, a real pertinent example. Dead Air Lazarus 6. Direct thread slightly loses to the Xeno. And we haven't published that yet, but there's a spoiler alert for you. Xeno mount, as it's sold, Dead Air Lazarus 6 will outperform a direct thread mount Lazarus 6. You heard it here first. Okay. I'll show you by how much when we publish that. Okay, cool. And that concludes listener questions, solicitation 7. There were 88 questions in that solicitation, bringing us to a total of 590 questions total. And on the next segment of listener questions on this podcast, we will start solicitation 8, and we'll see how far we get with that one, and we'll continue on until we are finished with that too. Okay, I'm going to save our spreadsheet. I'm going to highlight that row to indicate that we did, in fact, truly finish it. I'm going to save and close Excel. Boom, done. Awesome. Okay. That concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope the listener questions were both informative and entertaining to you and enjoyable. Please stay tuned for the morning. Today is Tuesday for me. It's Wednesday for you. Wednesday morning at 0700 Central Time, U.S., there will be the JK Armament Report, Report 6222 with Hazard Map Brief 8.1.19. Please look at it, check it out, read it, love it, understand it, admire it, and we will go technically in the deep dive next episode, and maybe we can hit some listener questions too. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay? It's been a pleasure. Be good, stay safe. I will talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.